Most people think Formula One cars are the fastest, most extreme machines on the planet, and they're right. But here's the part almost nobody knows. An F1 car is actually held back. The monster you see on TV every Sunday is not running anywhere near its full potential. And the real reason why brings together danger, money, politics, and engineering limits that would shock most fans. Let's start with something obvious: power. Modern F1 engines produce around 1,000 horsepower, officially. But inside every team's factory lies a far scarier version, an engine that can push way beyond that. The problem? At full power, it would simply tear itself apart. The hybrid systems, the turbo, even the internal components would explode under race conditions. Constructors know this. Drivers know this. And the FIA definitely knows this. The engines are capped, tuned, and even electronically restricted to prevent them from destroying themselves. But that's only the beginning. Next is fuel. You might think an F1 car could just burn more fuel to unlock more power. No, they're not allowed to. There's a strict limit on how much fuel can be used per race and how quickly it can flow into the engine. If teams were allowed full flow, these cars would suddenly gain hundreds of extra horsepower, instantly turning every race into a battle of exploding engines and drivers hanging onto a missile. Then there's the hybrid power unit. The MGUK and MGUH can unleash insane electric boosts, but again, the FIA limits how much energy can be deployed per lap. If the MGUK was allowed unlimited release, an F1 car would practically warp forward on every straight. But if drivers had full electric power whenever they wanted, overtaking would be chaotic, unsafe, and impossible to regulate. Now, let's talk about the tires. One of the biggest reasons F1 cars can't run at full power. F1 tires grip like nothing else on Earth, but they're also fragile. If teams unleash full engine power, the tires would overheat instantly, blister, or even explode. Drivers can't even push flat out for more than a few laps because the tires start melting. That's why you always hear drivers beg over the radio, "My tires are gone." Imagine giving them more power. The cars would be uncontrollable. And speaking of control, there's aerodynamics. Today's F1 cars create insane downforce, but they are also designed with restrictions. If teams were allowed to use their full aerodynamic knowledge, ground effect without limitations, active aero systems, and unrestricted wings, the cars would be so fast in corners that drivers would literally black out from G-forces. The FIA caps aero not to slow the cars down, but to protect the drivers from the limits of the human body. But there's a deeper, more political reason too: budget. Running an F1 car at full potential would cost teams hundreds of millions more per season. Engines would explode more often. Parts would need replacing constantly, and smaller teams would have no chance of surviving. The FIA limits performance because without those limits, the sport would become a financial war where only 2 or 3 mega teams survive. And yes, safety is a shadow hanging over everything. An F1 car already reaches speeds over 350 kilometers per hour. If engines, aerodynamics, and hybrids were fully unleashed, we would be talking 450 kilometers per hour on some straights. At that speed, even a small crash would be guaranteed fatal. Drivers already push their bodies to the limit. Increasing the power would turn every race into a lottery of who survives the physics. Finally, here's the truth most fans never hear. Every year, engineers try to sneak closer to full power. They design engines that produce more than the rules allow. They build aero parts that push the limits. They search for tiny loopholes in fuel flow, battery deployment, or cooling systems. And when the FIA catches them, they rewrite the rulebook. It's a constant chess game. Engineers try to make the cars faster, and the FIA steps in to slow them down. This tug-of-war is the hidden battle that defines modern Formula One. So the next time you watch a race, remember this: the car you're seeing is restrained, restricted, and intentionally limited. Underneath the regulations lies a machine far more powerful and dangerous than anyone is allowed to witness. F1 cars don't run at full power not because they can't, but because the sport and the drivers wouldn't survive it.